Thank you, Presiding Officer. I make no apology for starting my contribution to this debate by expressing my ongoing dismay and anger at the position Scotland finds itself in with regards to EU membership. We have made it crystal clear at every poll and election before and since 2016 that we choose to be an EU nation. Brexit must surely rank as one of the most deceitful and self-destructive policies ever to be visited on the population of a country. Of course, it doesn't matter whether you voted for it or against it. The ongoing and worsening consequences of withdrawing from the world's most successful trading bloc with nothing to replace it was entirely predictable. Pursuing Brexit at all costs was a feckless and dishonest thing to do. Pursuing the hardest of Brexits, as a Tory government after Tory government has done so, is an ongoing scandal. But what of Labour? Now, I don't agree that Labour and Tory are two sides of the same coin on every policy and debate brought to this Parliament. But on the subject of Brexit, they seem to have no more interest in representing Scotland's democratically expressed choice than the Tories. Whether we've given up on Scotland being a European nation, as Tory and pro-Brexit Labour and Lib Dems have done or not, we should all be deeply concerned at what the EU retained law bill means for workers, employers, consumers and the viability of businesses right around the country. Yes, I will give way.
Alec Rowley. I thank Kaukab Stewart for taking an intervention. It's disappointing to hear the approach that you take here. Labour has opposed this in Westminster. We're absolutely opposed it here. You seem to be more interested in stocking. Sorry, Chair. You seem to be more interested in stocking division than you do in trying to unite people in Scotland. Mr. Rowley. To stand. Do you mean that I have to look at you rather than looking across there?
No, you need to address the Chair rather than the other member.
You seem to be more interested in stoking division and trying to create division in Scotland than you do trying to build unity where parties can come together and stand up for Scotland.
I think you mean the member is not me. Kaukab Stewart.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. With this bill, this disastrous bill moving through Westminster, despite the concerns of expertise, the Welsh Senate and the Scottish Parliament does Alex Rowley, I wonder if he would agree that there is simply no way to make Brexit work. But going back to where I was, bear with me, Presiding Officer, I'll try and find where I was. The Unison, describes the bill as having set a fast-moving conveyor belt in motion which will see all protections for workers and citizens that come from EU law fall off a cliff in December 2023, unless the government decides to produce new and equivalent UK laws. Now, we have heard, and I would reiterate, that the bill impacts around 2,400 regulations, and so far 2,000 pieces of retained EU law have not yet been amended, repealed or replaced. Make no mistake, there is a huge upheaval and disruption ahead, and the potential for massive loss of rights and protections if this bill proceeds. The cost of doing business with the EU and the amount of bureaucracy about to be set in train will rise to unsustainable levels for many businesses. For business and employment, like Brexit itself, the EU retained law bill spells disaster. Recent statistics from the Federation of Small Businesses continue to show my constituency of Glasgow Kelvin as having the second largest business population in Scotland, with over 10,000 local businesses. For local businesses, Brexit had already taken its toll on recruitment, on the cost and administrative hassle of trading with EU countries. And now, with this latest mitigating measure in the shape of EU retained law bill, We are being asked to accept a real bonfire of the vanities in terms of workers' rights, consumer protection, food standards, animal welfare, and literally hundreds of other quality assurance measures that we have benefited from as members of the EU. But, of course, at its heart, at its very core, we should be extremely concerned at what the bill means for Scottish democracy. The retained EU law bill will drive a coach and horses through Scotland's devolved settlement, and make no mistake, it is fully intended to do so. If this bill becomes law, it will return to Westminster responsibility for legislation in vast areas of currently devolved decision-making. Coupled with the disgraceful and undemocratic internal market bill, Scotland's political voice will be silenced and overridden on issue after issue. Regarding the Conservatives' amendment to the motion referring to parliamentary scrutiny, the bottom line is that if we don't stop this bill, there will be no scrutiny of many areas of policy the Scottish Parliament currently have responsibility for. A massive Westminster power grab may be what Conservative MSPs want and are working for, but it's not what Scotland wants. In conclusion, Presiding Officer, I support the Government's motion today, which calls on the UK Government to scrap the bill completely, in the interests of good governance, public protection and, most significantly, democracy for Scotland. Thank you.